because sex is a very deep, intimate connection. You're exchanging so much. So if you don't want to become the person you're having sex with, you probably shouldn't be having sex with them, because in a way you are taking on their patterns and becoming part of each other. Hey, what's up guys? I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you want to learn more about sexual mastery, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when I release new videos. Make sure you get my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description below. So in this video, I'm going to talk about basically the energetic effects of having sex with someone. How does it affect your system to connect sexually with someone else? And this will really tie into a lot of different aspects like polyamory, having multiple partners, having casual sex. So we're going to approach a lot of different things and how this concept of exchanging sexual energy can affect your own energy, right? Depending on who you're connecting with. A lot of people ask me this, whenever I go live, people are always asking about, is it better to have multiple partners? Is it better to have one partner? What happens if I just have casual sex? And so I really want to break this down, not from any sort of moralistic standpoint, like obviously whatever lifestyle you choose to live, that's fine. That's your business. It's not mine. I'm not here to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do. But I do want to share maybe a bit more about the potential situations you can find yourself in, right? If you aren't cautious about how you engage your sexual energy and who you engage it with. Sex is a very, very deep, intimate exchange. And when you're physically having sex with someone, you are connecting physically with them. You are literally inside of each other physically, right? Energetically as well. You are exchanging a lot of information, we could say. You're exchanging all kinds of things that you're not even aware of, right? For most people, sex is a very unconscious thing. And so when you're having sex with someone, you're exchanging deeply. Obviously, you're exchanging your energy, but what does that really mean? You can be exchanging emotions, karma, ancestral patterns that you're holding on to, that your partner's holding on to. All of these things become exchanged through sex, and we really don't have any control over it, right? Because sex is a deep opening, it's a union, right? So basically when you're having sex with someone, you are taking on aspects of that person and you're giving them aspects of yourself. So you're basically starting to become more of each other through sex. So that is very, very important to understand. And that's going to form the basis of a lot of what I'm going to talk about here. And sometimes there's a bit of a battery effect with sex, meaning that if one partner is very, very low in energy, if they're in a depressed state, and the other partner is in a very high energy state, they're feeling really open, expansive, and balanced and harmonized. When they have sex together, typically the person in lower vibrations receives a lot more than the person who's on the upper level, we could say, right? Meaning that at the end of sex, the person who was at a low energy level, all of a sudden they feel energized, they feel good because they got something from the other person. But the person who was at a high energy level, they may find themselves feeling depleted, feeling a bit tired, feeling irritable even having like slight subtle feelings of resentment towards their partner. Now, it's usually not this black and white. It's important to understand that there's so many aspects to this, right? And when I say this, it's important to understand that in the context of a, balanced relationship, this can change every day. Like maybe there's one day where your partner's low energy or you're low energy, so there's kind of an exchange there, right? It's not a big deal. But if this becomes kind of like a common theme where one partner's always low in energy, for example, me several years ago, I was dating a woman who had no practice, had no energy cultivation practice, right? And I was, doing 2-3 hours of Qigong, doing my meditation practice every single day. So I was charging myself up every day. And then after we had sex, I would often feel a bit drained. I started feeling a bit depleted. I became very aware of, I'm just kind of giving all my energy to this person and I'm really not getting anything. I'm actually getting depleted by this interaction. So, it didn't last very long basically, right? And so I think this is a very, very important thing to keep in mind when you seek out a partner, because a lot of men are willing to engage in sex no matter who it is pretty much, right? It's like, well, she's attractive looking, that's enough, let's do it. And so what you get in that situation is short-term gratification. You get the enjoyment of having sex, but with some potential long-term baggage, we could say, right? When you're having sex with someone, doesn't matter if you've been together for 10 years or if you've known them for 10 minutes, you are exchanging on a very deep level. So now I want to talk about how this really relates to having multiple partners, having more than one partner, or having casual sex partners, right? Because it's very important to understand. And again, this isn't about morals. This isn't about, I believe this is right or wrong. I don't care. Whatever works for you is fine. But it's important to understand these things because it will give you more awareness into maybe some of the karmic patterns that are arising because of the interactions you're having with other people. So this concept of sex as an exchange of baggage, we could say, right? Because the average person on planet Earth right now has a lot of baggage. They have a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of negative self-talk. unresolved issues within themselves, all kinds of things. Generational patterns that have been handed down, we all have these things within us. And 95% or more people are completely unconscious of this. And so when you have sex, you're exchanging these things. You take on your partner's shit and they take on yours as well, right? Obviously, there's a lot of beauty. There's a lot of great things that happen with sex, but this is kind of the darker side that it's important to understand because it gets a lot of people in trouble. So ideally, you want to be in a relationship or at least be sexually connecting with someone who you trust, someone who's trustworthy, someone who is dealing with their issues in a balanced way. So ideally you have a strong daily practice, whether that's Qigong, yoga, meditation, where you're resolving the incompletions you feel within yourself. What do I mean by incompletions? I mean mommy daddy issues, unresolved angers, conflicts that you've been holding on to your whole life, these kinds of things, right? So basically when you and your partner both have a strong practice, you're not both burdened down with a lot of emotional issues and, baggage from the past, then when you have sex, it's going to be very light. You'll have a beautiful exchange together. And as I mentioned before, there's often a situation where one person's doing all this inner work and the other person isn't. That's when things can get a bit complicated. And you have to ask yourself, are you willing to live this lifestyle of basically having more work for yourself? Because not only are you having to process your stuff that's coming up, your mommy daddy issues, your reactions to the world, whatever, but you're also taking on your partners as well. But when things can get very complicated is when you have multiple partners, because now you're increasing your workload basically, right? There's more karma, more baggage being absorbed into your system. That's assuming that you're with a partner who doesn't have a very, very strong internal practice of releasing and dissolving negative energies, basically, right? Is what it really comes down to. You're having sex with all these different people, and then one day you notice like, hey, I feel really uncentered. I have all these strange thoughts, all these strange emotions, all this weird self-talk. I'm feeling anxiety, I'm feeling depression, I'm feeling all this weird stuff that I didn't used to feel before, and it becomes very confusing because you're like, where is this all coming from, What often happens in relationships is people lose their center. They lose their reference point, we could say, their baseline. For example, if you're a somewhat balanced person, you tend to feel pretty good day to day. That's your baseline, right? If you're a sexual kung fu practitioner, if you practice, the Qigong, the breath work, the meditation, yoga, stretching, working out every day, then your baseline is pretty high. You tend to feel pretty good, pretty energized, pretty balanced, pretty expansive every single day. And you start to notice like, oh, I'm really getting off of this baseline. I'm starting to feel kind of at a low point. My energy is low. My mental clarity is lacking. I have all these weird thought forms in my head. That kind of thing can tend to increase when you're increasing your relation with others. That can happen a lot more quickly if you're sleeping with multiple people. So you start to just lose yourself in this out of control emotional roller coaster of sexually exchanging with all these people, not knowing where this energy you're feeling is coming from, the weird things, and not really having a solid way to deal with it, right? So you just kind of live with it. This happens to a lot of people. So again, for me, on the subject of multiple partners, it's not a question of like, is this right for everyone? Is this wrong? I don't have a certain belief system that says everyone should only be with one person or everyone should have multiple partners. That's not my style. I say whatever works for you, whatever is your personal journey, that's great. But understanding what I have shared here, I think will give you a bit more tools that will help you to deal with some of the consequences that can arise when you very freely indulge in sexual activity with others. Polyamory has become a very popular thing kind of in the more spiritual group. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's because, with the spiritual path, there's often this desire for personal freedom, right? So on one hand, sure, I can see it makes sense that you want to just freely exchange everything with everyone around you, right? But I think the question to ask yourself is this behavior of feeling like you need, a new partner all the time, or you need someone new, you need all these different people, is this a pattern of avoidance? Are you avoiding intimacy with one person? Are you avoiding going very, very deep with one person? And I think that one of the potential drawbacks that can arise from polyamory is that you're kind of scattering your energy between these partners. So instead of developing a very, very deep, intimate connection, you kind of have a more surface level connection to multiple people, which again, if that's what you want, that's fine. But for me, I found the most happiness, the most completion, the most beautiful experiences in my life as far as relationships go by going very, very, very deeply with one person. That's just what works for me. So to wrap things up, I think it's a good idea to have some discernment into who you sexually connect with, because sex is a very deep, intimate connection and you're exchanging so much. So if you don't want to become the person you're having sex with, you probably shouldn't be having sex with them, because in a way you are taking on their patterns and becoming part of each other. So keep that in mind as you choose where to go with your path at this point. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave a comment below. Have a great day.